Now we're going to take a look at Bullseye. This is Lesson 5 from Unit 7. When will you teach this lesson? Let's take a look at the big picture to find out. The first thing that I would like for you to notice is that this lesson is taught in both Math 7 and Math 7 Accelerated. For both courses, it's in Unit 7, Lesson 5, and it's given 2 days of instruction time. When it comes to standards, helpful teacher tips, and presentation strategies, we can take a look at the scope and sequence. So for Math 7, this lesson covers Standard 15 and Math 7 Accelerated, Standard 31. I would like for you to pay particular attention to the teacher note for the helpful teacher tips for this lesson. The focus of this lesson is determining the theoretical probability of an event using area of geometric shapes. This will also serve as a great review for finding area of two-dimensional shapes, which will be needed in the next unit. Be aware that problem 4 covers finding the area of a circle, which has not yet been covered. And also you may want to do a mini lesson about the area of different figures, and these are the ones that you would need to cover. The other thing I'd like to bring your attention to is going to be the third checkbox on materials needed, and that's a Nerf gun or some other type of gun that uses magnetic darts if your whiteboard is magnetic. So for presentation strategies, on day 1, before the lesson begins, either make area images on page 1 and page 4 on chart paper, or have the slides with those images available and have Nerf guns or magnetic darts available. For this, I would recommend doing them on Google Slides or some other way so that you can project those images on the board. I feel like they would stick to the regular board as opposed to chart paper much better. The other thing is you will need to make sure before you get started that you distinguish between a right triangle and an isosceles triangle, because these are there are questions about the different ones throughout the lesson. So on day 2, whenever you start the lesson, it's very important that you pay attention to this first bullet. So to begin class, use the slides or chart paper again and the Nerf guns to get students to try to aim at the new figure. This time you're going to record students' hits versus attempts and have them calculate the probability. Tell them that they will be calculating theoretical probability, but what they just demonstrated is actually experimental probability. So let's take a look at the lesson. Remember, this is a 2-day lesson. The first 3 pages are what are covered on day 1, and the last 2 on day 2. Now, my tip to you to avoid confusion for this lesson, this is actually for question 1, part C and D, because they're right there next to each other, but they ask very different questions. So for part C, as you can see, the question, the area in question is inside the square and outside of figures 1 through 4. So the part that they're asking about is going to be that part that's shaded blue on this image. However, depending on your copier, that may or may not show up very well on the student pages. So just please keep that in mind. And then also on the last one, it's referencing the area of the square. And for that, that's that entire 10 by 10 region. So please make sure that your students distinguish between those two.